Hey, love. Let's have a chat. Da-da-da-da-da. So, first ever Broadway Radical podcast. We're finally here. Recorded on a bright sunny day at 9:07 p.m. I was about to say 1/26/2017, and then I was like, considering being like 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from here on in, I shoot without a script, which I suppose is more or less accurate for what I'm about to be doing, because I am shooting without a script, unlike most of my videos. So it's a podcast. We're going to talk about musical theater. Let me put it this way. We're going to talk about Broadway. And we're going to talk about radical. A little Broadway, a little radical, a little Broadway, a little radical. Yeah, that's not a song, but I just made it up, so it is now. Anyway, starting real lighthearted because I'm not feeling real lighthearted. I'm going to call this episode probably Art in the Age of Resistance. And I'm really glad that last word is a thing, resistance, because otherwise I would have had to call it Art in the Age of the person whose name I am tired of hearing. And I was tired of hearing it before he came to power, and I'm certainly goddamn tired of it now. That doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about him, but I do think maybe there's some hidden immense value in titling this not about him, but about the people who matter. I'm going to talk about the people whom I admire. Did I use whom correctly just then? I don't know, but it's this version of America where you can just say whatever the fuck you want. You can just lie and lie and lie, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, super lighthearted start. So, Art in the Age of Resistance, aka now, apparently. So, there have been, it started with, there's been a lot of marches lately, and I'm sad that I've only been able to make it to the actual inauguration day one, but before that even, there was the MLK Day march, which I didn't know was going on at my city until afterwards, because I guess I'm not Facebook friends with it. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't hear about these things. And there was a MLK Day march. I was working, but I probably would have taken off work for it. And then there was the Women's March, which I'm really mad that I didn't get to attend, because that's really, not that I wasn't, all of these are equally important. And there's going to be the LGBT March. I don't know if that's just happening in Washington. I would assume it's happening countrywide. And then there's the No Ban, No Wall protest, which are also real good. All of this shit, real good. The National Park Services refusing their gag order and going AWOL, the most badass thing I can talk about. And to smoothly transition this into the art part, the thing that I chose to lead this with, I want a fucking musical written about those dudes. About be like, yeah, you want us to stop talking about how our planet is dying, or more accurately, our planet is going to kill us because we're killing it. The planet will be around after we are gone, We will not be around after we're gone because we'll be dead. Side note, I don't understand why or when environmentalism became a issue where you pick sides. Jesus Christ. Why did, of all the things that you could why is abortion politicized? Why what? But especially the planet, like, how can you not agree that you don't want the place where you live to turn into a garbage fire? Anyway, also there's a climate march. Real good. I'm real proud of the people that are doing these things, and once I fucking find out when and where they're happening in my city, I'm gonna haul my happy ass out there. Because it's so important. Anyway, art is what we're talking about. Brief side note, because there'll be a lot of side notes. I was originally going to make my first episode of the Broadway Radical podcast about the Hamilton bootleg and bootlegs in general, and then I had a follow-up episode planned, and I had a whole thing, you guys, and instead of getting to hear about that, you get to hear about the world, me being very concerned about the world ending. But even if it doesn't make you feel better, it makes me feel better getting to talk about it, because basically I just sit in my room and I try to work on things, and I just can't get the notion out of my head that fuck, we're all fucked. We're all gonna die. I'm gonna die. Even if not everybody else does. I'm gonna get fucking drafted into the military to fight fucking Mexico to pay for our wall that we're paying for. I'm sorry. This is not gonna be pure politics. If this were going to be pure politics, then this wouldn't be a channel about musicals. I swear, I promise to you, we're going to talk about musicals and art. I just wanted to kind of vent. And I'm venting to you because you seem to somehow appreciate it, but more so, I appreciate you for being there and wanting to hear me talk about anything. And I see you in the comments, you sweet people. And except for on the Everything Wrong with Hamilton video, because those aren't the people who follow me and are chill. It's like everybody else on the internet who has seen it and decide that they want to chime in with some fucking snarky ass it's not even snark, it's just straight up being mean. Anyway, talking about the topic. Anyway, the reason that I wanted to do any of this is just to talk to you guys, because I feel like you're my friends. But anyway, it's like that sentence is like really sad from you could think it's really sad from my perspective, but if there's actually someone out there listening that's like that this is helping, my only hope is that it means something to them / you who's listening. And if you're that person that if I help you cope with the things that I'm trying to cope with by trying to cope with them on air, then that's all I can hope for. Anyway, been talking about this shit for 10 minutes now. So that's real good. Let's talk about the first part, because I've said repeatedly that I'd talk about it. So, what do we as artists do when we are confronted with, let's not mince words, fascism, with the rise of and don't call them alt-right, they're Nazis. You don't even have to say neo-Nazis. If you say Nazis in the context of it being the 21st century, we can make the mental jump. Like all these, like at BuzzFeed, at mainstream media, they're just Nazis. Okay, just to throw that out there. But what do we do when we are confronted with that? What kind of art do you make when you're up against the wall, backed into a corner, feeling completely powerless? The Women's March, was it in fact the biggest protest, the biggest demonstration, in history? I believe. I might be wrong about that, but it was sure a fuck ton of people. Because, about, at least 50% of the population are women. So that's pretty important. But and then after that, days after that, they cut off funding for not just abortions, because federal funding doesn't go to that. Federal funding goes to the clinics that I don't even have basic health services for women and people who have vaginas, which could be trans men as well. Don't know what services they allow to trans women. Not super familiar, because that just doesn't get talked about. But it's basic goddamn human rights, all right? These things that are being stripped away from us, that we're fighting so hard for. Having health care is a right. The right to not fucking die because you're too poor. Because all of the wealth is concentrated in the hands of people like, well, I think you know how to answer. I think you know how to fill in the rest of that sentence. It is a right to have basic health care. It is right to have... Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm pro-choice, obviously. If you don't like that, then... if you're not on board with that, I'm going to assume that you're not really watching my channel anyway. And I don't really want to have a discussion about it in the comment section, because there are things that are much more important than your opinion on what women can do with their bodies. Anyway, side note, I feel like this whole thing is just me going on kind of related rants that maybe, hopefully, will serve a central theme. But the goddamn point is, as artists who are liberal in a sense, I am more left than liberal. More left than Democrats by a far amount, and I'm seeing this extreme hateful agenda propagated by the right wing, and not just the alt-right, but the centrists, as they're called, the middle of the road Republicans, that entire side is basically trying to kill us. And we're here trying to do art. And I think the reason I'm struggling to come to a point with this is because I don't know what we're supposed to do, if I'm being completely honest. Because something I hear a lot from liberals when a bad thing happens because of the Republican Congress hashtag go vote in the midterm elections and fucking blockade this shit. But the thing that I hear from liberals when they suffer a setback is, let's go out and make art more, or more passionately. What the fuck does that mean? As someone who has great respect for the arts and, is an artist and is entirely steeped in that world, what the fuck does that mean? What does it mean to go out and perform Hello Dolly with all the vigor in life? What does it fucking matter? Not that there's anything wrong with Hello Dolly. I haven't actually seen and or heard it. I could listen to the soundtrack right now, but I'm busy doing a podcast. So, what does it mean to resist in art? Good question, Christoph. Do you have an answer? No, I'm just kind of stalling until something comes to me. I think we need to be bold. If I am going to put a point on this, I think we need to be bolder in our art than ever. We cannot afford to not make a point with everything that we do. We can't afford more frivolous, just bullshit jukebox musicals coming to Broadway. We need real shit right now. We need real shit addressing these issues, resisting openly. We need to step it up. We need to be aggressive. And is that on creators? Is that on the producers? I don't know. I was about to say, is it on the actors? Well, that's not. Actors don't really have a choice in in anything. And I'm well aware of that, having been one. But honestly, I think if we're doing old work, we need to do shit that's relevant. I want to see Cabaret done with audience talkbacks afterwards. And I'd done a Cabaret with audience talkbacks afterwards, and it didn't quite go the way that I wanted it to. There wasn't that many people in the audience to stay for that, and we didn't do a good job of announcing that there would be it. But I want to see the Three Penny Opera done, and more importantly than the work that's being done, it needs to be clear what message we are sending. The people should not fear the government. The government should fear the people. And as artists, we have a duty to do that. honestly, as artists, it is our duty to strike hard. I fucked it up. It is our duty to strike fear into the heart of our oppressors. Does Hamilton do that? Maybe. But it was sort of, I mean, that you saw where that whole controversy went. Basically nowhere, you know. It was an interesting shift to see the reaction, the very stark contrast in the reception of Hamilton between the two presidents. One invites him to the White House and gets a call, like shout out, and the other one gets called out. And when you're up against someone who will just lie about what you said, because all they said, honestly, they went very soft. And if you're not aware of this, basically Mike Pence went to go see Hamilton. I don't know what the fuck he thought it was going to be. He'd be like, yeah, it's definitely okay to be a Republican, not like your party has a long storied history of systematically crushing the people that we're most concerned about, the people who we need to be most protecting. It's not like, you know, your party is causing the death and deportation leading to death and disenfranchisement of, like, people that look like are in our cast. They didn't say any of that. All they said was, we hope that you serve all Americans, not just whatever. And it's not a bad sentiment, but here's the thing. They're going to get mad at you for that, no matter how softly you put it, no matter how agreeable, no matter how much you try to be friends with the supporters of this brutal regime that we're entering. It doesn't matter. You can fucking massage them gently while you just kind of suggest that what, you know, the core of their beliefs devalues human lives by the masses. You can't be bold enough. We've got to go for it. Because we can't wait for it. I had to sneak a Hamilton reference in somewhere. But, fuck, man. You gotta be bold. You gotta, like, if you're gonna be making a speech to the vice president, I honestly think you went way too fucking soft on him. You went way too fucking soft. And they called you out, and you had all these people saying, bullies, theater is a respectful place. So, like, that's fucking ironic. But, like, no matter what you do, they will demonize you. But we know we're on the right side of history. The march of history, of progress, always goes leftward. And we are in that camp. We are on that side. We will eventually win. So, don't hold back. Fucking go for it. Right? Because they're going to hate you either way. So when we're making art, I don't, honestly, not that I wanted to see it before, but no more, I can't handle any more frivolous shit. I can't do another Something Rotten. I can't stand it. Although it's not that I thought Something Rotten was pleasant to listen to, but it, like, accomplished nothing. And I'm not saying every show has to be Hamilton, but what if it were? What if it wasn't an outlier in being so progressive? I mean, what are we waiting for? Why are we waiting to just sort of pussyfoot around it and, be all loving to the people who want to murder us and our friends and the people who are not them and who don't look like them and don't have the money and status that they have? We can't afford any more bullshit musicals. We can't afford not to spend every waking moment in active rebellion. And you're not alone. You're not alone in this. You got 30% of the eligible, basically 30% of the country voted for him. But the other 70% hates his guts. You are not alone. We are not alone in this. And as artists, we have the immense power to, if not change people's minds, then drive them to action. Because action is the only thing that has ever made history. Action is the only thing that has ever stopped tyrants. And I don't mean signing a petition. I can't think of one time in history when a petition has been particularly memorable. There have been documents, but there was significant action leading up to them. I said it before and I'll say it again. If you can go march, please do. If you can't, that's okay. It's okay if you can't. I don't know if I will be able to. I mean, I would some days, but I will not be able to as much as I want because I have to work to, pay bills, which is probably the same boat a lot of people are in. But I just, what we need to do with our art is not hold back. We're facing an enemy. You're not going to turn Donald Trump into your friend. Right? Mike Pence didn't see Hamilton and just suddenly decide, oh, you know what? Actually, gay people can get married, and brown people aren't inferior to my race. Man, I should really do something about that. It didn't happen. Because at the end, he was met with, hey, please, please don't kill us. Essentially, because that's what's on the line. Christ. I mean, it really is. And I think the reason for the Hamilton, their speech, which was very short, is because they're artists and they're very loving, soft, warm-hearted people, and they don't have the fire in them. Maybe it's that they don't have the fire in them, or they wanted to appear likable to the other side. But guess what? We're not likable to the other side. We are fighting for our lives. We're fighting so when entire indigenous tribes have water to live on. I don't know if you've ever tried to live without water. You can't. Jesus Christ. Also, I'd like to point out that it's been not even a week. And I'm losing my goddamn mind. And you know I'm losing my mind because I took an entire Xanax before I did this. And I've been taking one every night this week. I can't even focus on my work, on these videos, on writing my second musical and doing like putting the sheet music together for the first. I stare at the screen and think, what is it all for? But that's honestly a fault with me because that art has the power to make the difference. Art, culture has always been the thing that drives people. It's not the only thing, but it has the power to inspire people. I mean, socioeconomic conditions and centuries of oppression probably have, like a bigger role on getting people out in the streets. But everybody watches movies. Everybody partake. There's no person on this planet who doesn't partake in media. And when I said no person on this planet, I mean I meant that in a general sense, like factually, that's that's probably wrong, but you know what I mean. Everybody partakes in culture. The art is the public discourse. And we honestly have to be brave enough to talk about these things. And we have to be brave enough to bring up an alternative. We have to be brave enough to bring up resistance, and not only bring it up, but do it. To be an active resistance of the thing that might kill us. I mean, and there's different degrees of that, because I'm sitting here like, okay, am I gonna be killed for being a fag? Or am I going to get killed for being trans fag? Or am I going to be drafted into the army? Or am I just going to die from the nuclear retaliation that is launched after he who shall not be named decides, you know what, we're going to show America we're the best, or show the world we're the best. I mean, I'm in the middle of the country, so I'll probably not get like the biggest hits. I'll probably get like, the fallout, and maybe I'll just find a friend that has a bunker. I will not find a friend that has a bunker. Anyway, that is a thing that I don't want to do. I don't want the East and West Coast of America to be wiped out. Keep in mind, if that happens, I mean, you bet your ass if any nuclear strikes happen, Broadway's gone. You strike New York, like obviously, they'd fucking scatter the East Coast. Not to mention that that's where, Washington D.C. is. Yeah, you can kiss Hamilton goodbye. Fuck, man. What a first podcast. I'm sorry that most of this is just me ranting about how afraid I am, but I'm sorry, I have to rant about how afraid I am. And I hope that this changes and I can do future episodes of the podcast about, musicals. The thing that I wanted to talk about. The thing that I kind of started this channel to talk about. But the thing that I also can't bring myself to talk about and ignore everything else. I mean, this is like Threat Level Midnight, starring Michael Scarn right now. Honestly. And I think everyone needs to do what it is in their capacity to do. And as artists, I think it is in our capacity to make art. Now, coming back to what I was saying in the beginning about what I think of the phrase like make art more passionately. Okay, well, what does that mean? It means what? Give a good performance? Okay, give a good performance anyway. It's not going to change anything. You should be proud of yourself for giving good performance. Like, props for you. The people in the audience will be really impressed, as they should be. But are they going to go home thinking, wow, I really need to do something? So, practical advice. I would urge you, if you're in a show right now, or going to be in a show, that in any way has some commentary to talk about what's going on. And you could pick any number of angles. It doesn't have to be directly about, you could talk, you do crimes of the heart and talk about the role of women in contemporary society, or in, pre-contemporary society. I mean, pre as in like by the time that play was written. You could, obviously cabaret, you could talk about what happens when power goes unchecked and afraid people just hunker down and don't do anything. And when you just go along for the media ride of seeing how terrible it can get, and then suddenly you find out exactly how terrible it can get. If you're an actor, I want you to urge your directors to do talkbacks. And also, like, publicize them. Like, make everybody sure know, like, before the show starts. And probably on the programs. Because we need to have discussions. And if you're a director, I would highly encourage you to do talkbacks of your own volition. What else can we do? I don't know, get your theater troupe to go to a protest. Because it matters to you. Because, hey, guess what other thing is being cut? National Endowment for the Arts, by the way. If you're trying to fix deficit issues, if you were trying to spend less money, that's like taking the entire ocean, getting a fucking turkey baster and filling it up and being like, all right, this is the one we need to take out. Fuck the literally more than 50% of our budget we spend on the military. Fuck all the billions of dollars it's going to take to build this fucking wall to keep out our fellow citizens of Earth. Christ, okay. I did it again. I went off in just politics. But the fucking point is, we got to do something. And we do have a powerful role as artists. So if you want to write in your bios, Chad would really appreciate if you went out this Saturday and protested the gag order on the EPA, or has that been lifted? I heard it had been lifted, but it doesn't matter because that's fucking terrifying anyway. Make sure net neutrality stays a thing so you can see sites like this, so you can listen to me talk. Because there's just this endless, unstoppable barrage of terrible. And they know they're going for the overwhelming, they're going for the tactic of just overwhelming everybody. They're discrediting the media. You discredit the media, and then you blame all the problems on foreigners. You publish a daily journal on the crimes committed by foreigners. Literally, the Nazis did that. Hitler did that. Also discredited the media. All of this. And we're at 40 minutes. So that was half rant, and well, no, it was like 95% rant and like 5% solution. And I think that's the best that I'm going to be able to offer you right now. Is we got to get up and do something. Call your Congress people. Vote 2 years from now, if we still have elections. If that's still a thing. 4 years is a long fucking time. God damn. And that's all I can. That's all I got right now. I just wanted to say that, and I hope somebody out there wants to listen, and I appreciate you, and we're going to get through this, we're going to fight, and we're going to win. We will be strong, and we will stand in solidarity. I love you, and I'll see you next time.